For the last 3 years, I've been making videos of all sorts, but what I really wanted to get into was outdoor adventure and action sport filmmaking. I was really fortunate to be connected with a local athlete who's a mountain biker. If you've been following my channel at all lately, you've seen lots of behind the scenes of the different shoots that we've been working on. And I thought in this video I could share some of the lessons that I learned in my first year of working in the outdoor adventure industry. For those of you that are new around here, my name is Scott Bell. On this channel, we do filmmaking tips and tricks, and I take you behind the scenes of the shoots that I go on. So if that sounds interesting, I hope you'll think about hitting that subscribe button down below. The first thing I want to talk about in this video is prioritizing the athlete that you're working with. With most outdoor adventure and action sport projects, you're going to have one or two main characters. The important thing is making sure that that person feels confident in what they're about to do, and you're not pushing them beyond what they're comfortable in a given day. Along with this, it's really important to make sure that the person you're working with understands the shot you're trying to get. This will allow them to prioritize their energy, basically. So with mountain biking, for example, if somebody's ripping down a trail really fast, you want to make sure that the moments that are on camera, they're looking their best. And so maybe they'll save some energy higher up the trail so that as they're coming into frame, they can really push it hard and be able to pull that trick off better than they may have if they were trying to maintain more speed throughout the whole video, when some of that might not actually even end up in the final edit. So just communicate with the person you're working with so they know when to push that extra effort out and when they need to look their best for the camera. The next thing that I want to touch on is that gear is not everything, but gear is really important. All of us filmmakers love tech, right? We like the newest cameras, the best lenses, and it's really easy to get in the weeds while thinking about this, but it is really critical to make sure you have the equipment needed to capture an action sport activity. In particular, high frame rate shooting becomes really important for some of these things that happen faster than the human eye can experience. So we want to be able to slow that motion down in the editing room. So having a camera that can shoot those higher frame rates is a really critical thing. Working with the GH5 has overall been a really great experience for mountain bike filmmaking. You can shoot in 4K up to 60 frames a second. You can shoot in 1080p up to 180 frames per second. But I've started to run into the limits of the acceptable quality for the films that I'm working on. When I'm shooting at 120 frames per second or higher, I find that the footage just doesn't look that good. And so I'm starting to look at other options that will allow me to capture that material in a way that's more in line with the rest of my vision for the projects I'm working on. That said, the GH5 has a lot going for it. It's a really small form factor. It's a weather sealed body. It can also take photos. So it makes for a really light camera to bring into the backcountry and be able to do a lot of different things with it. In addition to that, it's important to think about your lenses and your sensor. Are you able to capture images in lower light situations? Especially with mountain biking and other sort of forest-based activities, there's a lot of times where you're going to be shooting in a fairly dark forest. Because we're often shooting in the morning or in the evening to get that nice light, we're going to be shooting into the time where it's dusk, basically. And you want to make sure that your camera's going to be able to capture images at that time without too much noise and producing a nice quality image. And then finally, probably the biggest lesson that I learned within the category of gear this year is having a backpack that works well in the field is super, super critical. I started the year off with a backpack that I had really liked from the previous few years. It allowed easy access to my camera, particularly when I was taking photos. But what I found is I started to need more equipment for video shoots, like bringing a drone, bringing extra lenses and a monitor. I wasn't really able to fit all that stuff in my bag in a way that was efficient. Sometimes I was actually having to ask other people to carry some of my gear, and this just wasn't really acceptable. So this year I've switched to the Shimoda design system, and I love it so far. I can fit so much gear in my bag and carry it really comfortably for a full day. It's a really important thing to think about as well. Is the bag going to be easy for you to be keeping up with whoever you're filming without it digging into your shoulders or causing you a lot of pain? Because you've got to be able to keep up with these athletes who are doing this stuff on a daily basis and make sure you can capture those key moments. The next thing I want to talk about is concept development. It's really important to think about what you want to do before you go out there and start filming. Within outdoor adventure, there's two types of edits that I generally think about. There's more of an action-focused shred edit, and then there's the documentary sort of edit that has more story built into it. Depending on which one of these you want your final project to look like, it's going to change the type of shots you're going to get, and it's going to change when and what you shoot. And so when I'm working on an action-based edit, I'm thinking about things like, what do I want that edit to feel like? Is it slow motion shots with some fast-paced edits in between? Is it all fast-paced edits? Is it really composition focused, or is it really skill focused of the person that's in the video? All those things will determine the type of video that you're producing. You might even think about what type of song you might want to use, because it will change how you take your shots. It'll change how much slow motion you shoot, and it will change how much stabilization you use in some of your shots. If you're doing more of a story-based edit, you're going to need to capture more than just the action. You'll need the pieces that allow that all to link together into a cohesive story that somebody is interested in watching. Often these edits are going to end up a little bit longer, somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes, where a quick action edit might be somewhere between 1 and 3 minutes. So you need to find ways to keep your viewer pulled into that story, and you might even need to do some shooting before you get out on location, capturing whatever action they're doing, to build out that character and start to develop who they are and why they're motivated to do this thing that you're going to be filming. So think about that beforehand, and then you can plan your shots accordingly. The other piece with this is be flexible, because you don't know what's going to happen on location. You might have poor weather, issues with the trail, maybe, hopefully not, but maybe an injury happens, and you're going to have to adjust your concept based on those things that happen on the day of. And finally, the biggest lesson that I learned this year: don't stop shooting. The moments that are really going to captivate your audience, specifically in a story edit, are the moments that you didn't think about, and there's no way to know when they're going to come. You just want to make sure that camera is rolling as much as possible. Along with this, it's really easy to get caught up in a big trick somebody is doing and really focus your energy on that, capturing that moment. But what often is more important is the emotional reaction that that person has after that moment. They did something scary or something they didn't know if they can do. And you want to be there to capture that human experience, because that is what pulls people into a story. And that's what we're all watching these films for, right? We want to see that person succeed, and we want to see, the goosebumps on their neck as they just couldn't believe that they did this. We also want to see the awesome action. So if you can get both, all the better. But make sure that you don't stop rolling the camera as soon as somebody does that big jump or accomplishes something they didn't think they can do. Get close to that person, get audio of them being excited, because that is the stuff that in the editing room, you're going to be so thankful that you have. And just keep that camera rolling as much as possible, because you're going to be able to link your story a lot better if you have different pieces of footage that tie together the whole adventure somebody went on. Those are my biggest lessons from 2019. I'm excited for the year ahead. I've already got some great projects lined up, and I can't wait to take all of you along, show you some behind the scenes of the different shoots that I'm working on. Until the next video, get out there, make something beautiful, and I will see you all soon. Peace.